This video is for Geography Slide 12, the writing portion. So last time we read the focus on history reading, and you were able to identify two of the examples the reading discussed. The reading discussed Europeans who used to draw sea monsters on their maps in the ocean. It also discussed how ancient Chinese map makers used to draw China in the middle of the maps. What we're going to focus on here is I'm going to walk you through our writing process and give you some sentence starters and some ideas for how you can approach this writing. Remember, we are choosing one example from the reading to summarize how their maps give us modern-day people insight to their knowledge or beliefs. So when we're thinking about a topic sentence, we always want to tell our reader where we got our information and what we're talking about first. If you jump right into your explanation, your reader will be confused. My recommendation and a sentence starter could be, according to the focus on history reading, and then once you've done that, it'll be your job to identify your example, the example that you chose. Now, whenever you need to be writing things in your own words, I'll put them in brackets like this to show that that's where your own words and your own writing comes in. So your topic sentence could maybe sound something like this. According to the focus on history reading, Europeans used to draw sea monsters in their maps. Okay, keep it short. You're not launching into your explanation yet. Your second sentence needs to identify the actual section of the prompt that we want to know. How did their maps give us insight to their knowledge or beliefs? So we need to address that using our second sentence. One way we can do that is identify ourselves as the modern day people and how we're viewing their map and what did we learn from that particular map. One example of a sentence starter for this section could be, to us, in the modern day, this map tells us that they believed, and then you need to explain. Why did they draw their map that way? What does it tell us about them? What insight can we gain? So your second sentence could sound something like this. To us in the modern day, this map tells us that they, the Chinese map makers, believed that China was the most important culture out there, and that's why they put themselves in the middle of the map. That's one example. So you need to explain in your second sentence what we in the modern day are learning from this map. Not just that they had maps or where things were, but what does it tell us about their brains or their thought process? That's where we're going with that second sentence. An optional sentence that you could have in your writing. You do not have to include this. This is for people who want to or like to expand their writing. If you're someone that's already feeling a little uncomfortable with this writing, you can skip this next sentence altogether. But one thing that you can do to expand this sentence, this paragraph or this response, is that you can compare our modern view to the historical map. And what do I mean by that? I mean that you could say something like, we know a little bit more about the ocean now than the Europeans did. Or maybe we draw maps differently than they did back then in China. Any of those types of things would work. However, I want to caution you, we never, ever, ever say that people back then were dumb for not knowing something. They just simply knew less. We want to keep our opinion out of it, make sure we're sticking with historical fact. Then finally, we need a conclusion sentence. We need to remind our reader why these historical maps are so useful. We can start out this sentence by saying, historical maps are therefore useful because. And that's where you will finish out, why are these maps so useful? What do they tell us about people back then? Why do we study them? When you're done, proofread, check for spelling errors, and once you're all ready to go with that, you can submit this.